next year.
I'm not really shocked, because that's just like end of civilization stuff. That
was going to be my point. So
it's very Bacchic, Fall of Rome,
Exactly.
Mouse Utopia style. We're just gonna back.
Yeah, and this is a historical fact, by the way. There was absolutely no degeneracy happening in Rome prior to the fall of the Roman Empire. It was only right at the beginning of the Roman Empire's fall, decay, if you will, when the barbarians were starting to make some grounds, that all of a sudden the Romans were like, well, f it, we must now act degenerate. And then they began the sodomy. That hadn't happened at all prior to that moment. And that's history. That's history you can take to the bank. All right, all my fappers, and jackers, and vibrators, it's time to talk about porn in review 2022. What was the year of 2022 in the pornos? Yes, it's a topic that may appeal to many of you. Maybe not people who aren't interested in pornography, but some of you for sure. And now we see the two experts on the no fap right here.
Another porny note. We've now got the big story of the year. Which is the...
Oh no, Connor, you seem slightly perturbed. You don't enjoy this line of comedy. Well, it's but a wee routine, my lad. Don't worry. We'll certainly tell them to no fap. We're not going to promote any kind of fappage over here.
PornHub analytics for 2022 have been released. I think this is interesting because this is the...
Oh, God. Do they have usernames? Does it by chance show at Connor anywhere? No? Oh, okay. Well, naturally, yes. Degenerates, really.
Biggest
Why are they wearing suits? They always wear suits. I don't know.
Dump on revealed preferences. People will tell you all sorts of things in opinion poll, but this data doesn't lie. So it's worth a look, see where the culture have got to, see if we can spot any degeneracy creeping into it.
Any?
Okay.
There might be a bit, yes. Before we do, let's talk about our third plug for today.
So the audio was kind of scuffed. Also, what?
Which is another contemplations, which is why sex is binary. So that goes into the biology.
Like, could you ever trust a British man with like a smirk on his face, wearing like an ill-fitting suit, being like, oh, disgusting, deplorable degeneracy, those people who watch the pornos, not me. No. Oh, God, no. No, I never.
Something that possibly the people in the next segment that we're going to talk about would worth remembering. Okay, so we've got the link to, and this is more or less safe for work. There's no images in here. There are...
This is actually on their website.
I certainly did have to inspect it several times, and unfortunately I couldn't find any images of anything remotely naughty. I then had to go to their site directly to see if there was in fact any additional information I needed to inspect prior to doing this, of course.
So we've given them site traffic.
Well, no. So this is a slightly different site. So this is PornHub /Insight. So yeah, it is on the site, but it's relatively, like I say, safe for work. So the top data from 2022, and this is why I mentioned the sex is binary thing, is the transgender category has grown 75% this year.
My word, what does it say this? Topping this year's trends is reality porn. The reality category grew by 169%, nice to become one of the world's top 20 categories, while popularity of the amateur category has dropped slightly by 19%. Our statisticians theorize that more amateur models have become full-time performers, the quality of their videos has improved, and visitors are seeking a real homemade porn experience. In fact, the searches for real amateur homemade grew by 310% in the United States and 179% worldwide. The most common homemade search was for homemade swingers and homemade threesome. Over the searches containing real grew by blah, blah. I still don't see anything about trans porn, though. Every year, the Insights team and PornHub statisticians sift through data from billions of visits to see what content defined the year. Those that follow this blog know that PornHub's top searches are often influenced by pop culture and other worldwide events. Many of these terms define 2022, not just on PornHub, but in the mainstream media as well. Interesting. We're learning about ourselves through our masturbation. But I don't see anything yet about trans porn increasing. And if it is, in terms of viewership of trans porn, maybe it has a lot to do with maybe more normalization towards trans people, more acceptance. People don't maybe feel as guilty if they are. There's not as many people who still believe the traps, transphobia trope. That one, maybe they feel more liberated. You might have more cis men who are a little more comfortable. It's like, oh well, today I don't exactly want to agree. Maybe I'm not gay. Maybe I do enjoy a woman's penis just as well as I enjoy a cis woman's vagina. This perhaps perhaps I can enjoy multiple things. I don't have to define people anymore by their bits. Yes, that could be the future. Or it could be degeneracy.
Right, so not a social contagion in the slightest.
Yeah. So there is something.
Is there going to be data coming out that shows how many right-wingers are also watching it? Because I'm going to assume a few are. We seem to have a constant theme. A lot of transphobes often happen to be pretty aggressive chasers. Joe Rogan's a really good example. Alex Jones, another example. So just wondering if that information is ever going to come out and be part of the conversation.
Going on there, yeah. It is now the most viewed category in Brazil, which is...
Okay, so you said it was the most viewed category, but that was a little bit of clickbait. But here we are. We finally have the information. The trans category grew by 75% to become the 7th most popular category worldwide. 7th, not first. That was a lie. You lied at the start, but that's okay. We're here. Trans was the #1 most viewed category in Brazil, based, and 3rd most popular in the United States and Italy. Also based. What's wrong with any of this? Female to male searches were 8 times more popular than male to female, with transgender threesome and transgender surprise amongst the top searches. This is also, people are using proper terms. There used to be a lot of slurs that were used, and then I've had sex workers as well as, numerous people in the porn industry on the show before who have said, and, these are also, I've had trans sex workers on the show who have talked about how it is a really good thing that there's no longer, the use or the heavy use of slurs, because it was often very derogatory, so there's more respect in that aspect within the, of course, sex working community towards trans people. These are all very good things. Amongst the top searches, men view trans videos 22% more than women, while women view the trans male transgender subcategory 115% more than men. Interesting. Gen Y visitors 25 to 34 viewed trans videos 34% more than other age groups, as is Gen X 35 to 44 by 25%. Our statisticians also found that female to male searches grew 202% amongst visitors to PornHub Gay. The most searched for gender identities are non-binary, gender X, and androgynous.
Very disappointing Brazilians.
I thought it would have been Thailand.
Disappointing Brazilians. The fuck Brazilians? Why would you do this? No, I believe it would be Thailand. Well, why would you believe that? Well, yes, stereotypes, all that shit. Degeneracy, really.
Because Rory's just come back.
Maybe that's why, because he's back, so the traffic has dropped. Apparently, so I always get confused with this transgender thing, which way round it goes, but the MTF, male to female.
So it's so complex.
Blokes.
Yeah, blokes.
How will we ever find out?
That's what they used to call chicks with dicks.
It's in the fucking terms. You fucking, God damn it. Don't know how we're ever going to decode this cryptography here. What do we have? Female to male? I don't know what that could possibly mean. Yes, no way of knowing, really.
But it's actually dudes with tits, isn't it? That's the one.
Yes, it's your average Ontario teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, quite right. So that is up to.
Oh, I get that joke. It's a bit of a swing and a miss, though. I don't know if they were located in Ontario specifically, but I understand where you're going with this.
22%, but the other way, which surprises me. So the trans, female to male.
So
that's
Elliot
up,
Page.
Yes, so that is up 115%.
Not to say that Elliot Page has been doing this. Don't sue us.
Yeah, and for some reason,
I was like, you almost have progress for a couple seconds. It's like, oh, they're learning, or they're just plain ignorant. But then you lose that instantaneously. You can't even have that. You can't even have a crumb of like you're getting it. You're learning a little bit.
That's the one which is incredibly popular with women.
I like how they pretend to not know. Yeah, it's people who are like, what's you're talking about drawn Japanese porn? I've never heard of that. I didn't even know such a thing existed. What do you call it? Hiente. No, I've never heard of that before. No, this is the first time I've heard of it. Interesting. So that's something that other people are interested in, and they search for this hiente. Ah, okay. Interesting to know.
Don't quite know why.
That might be because lesbians are searching it because they're intrigued to see what would happen if they went through the transition.
Yeah,
you know what's interesting here is that for two cis straight dudes, I mean, I'm gonna assume here, not thinking that Carl Benjamin is really reaching out to the LGBTQ plus community looking for hosts, but either way, two straight cis dudes talking about this kind of stuff, you seem to have a lot of ideas. I'm just gonna say that. You seem to have a lot of what some might describe as almost fantasies going on about there, which you're kind of trying to twist into some weird, and this is degenerate. Yeah, this is the downfall of society, I say.
It might be just for research purposes.
I haven't tried to think this one through too much, but and the other thing. So I mean, you asked me before we came onto this is this Generation Z degeneracy? But
and by the way, you know how like straight people get really, really fragile about a lot of shit if you start making fun of like straight sex or heterosexual sex and shit, and like they want to have straight pride parades and shit like that. Like that's how sensitive they get about this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, it's like, do you see what happens in the other direction? Do you see what like straight people do when they're talking about other people's gender, sexuality, identity, just existence, stuff like that? They lean real heavy into the fucking bigotry. Okay, if someone's like, oh, I think straight sex is kind of mayonnaise, you say something like that, it's like, what? What is hate crime? I'd like to report a hate crime here.
Actually, this
I'm at a bar listening to you right now. Hey, bar. Glad you're listening to us making fun of some British bigots over here.
Gender rise is most prominent between 25
Yeah, this is heterophobia.
Generation Y. They search for these trans.
Say hi to the bar, chat. Everyone in chat, wave to the bar.
So, yeah.
Right.
Orgy videos, right? They're up 113%. These.
Oh, come on. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. Do you see this? Orgies. Oh, God. Is that sex with more than one person at a time? Oh, God, the horror. And you would see it. You would see the bits going into the other. Oh, God. Oh. I can't even stand to look at myself. I don't even want to look at my partner. I just take a large sheet or bag, put it over her, and cry until it's over, like a man.
This part.
I'm losing my accent. It's like I can't take this seriously. Just now they're going through this. Group sex? If you're losing your shit to group sex, oh man, do I have some surprises coming for you. Wait till you get to 6. Wait till you get to 7. And we all know 7's probably going to be a little too close to home, eh? It's going to be like, oh no, that sounds absolutely deplorable. Who in their right mind would enjoy being dominated by a powerful woman for hours?
I'm not really sure, because that's just like end of civilization stuff.
That was going to be my point. So
it's very Bacchic, Fall of Rome, Mouse Utopia style. We're just gonna
Yeah, and this is a historical fact, by the way. There was absolutely no degeneracy happening in Rome prior to the fall of the Roman Empire. It was only right at the beginning of the Roman Empire's fall, decay, if you will, when the barbarians were starting to make some grounds, that all of a sudden the Romans were like, well, fuck it, we must now act degenerate. And then they began the sodomy. That hadn't happened at all prior to that moment. And that's history. That's history you can take to the bank.
While the entire society implodes around us.
Whenever you look into Fall of Rome, you always hear about the vast increase of orgies at the end of the empire. And, yeah, that was up significant.
Your historical analysis is getting down to the fucking. If you're like, well, I really want to understand history through the lens. Some have other ways of analyzing it. Dialectical materialism I've heard a little bit about, but I kind of just concentrate on the cum, and based on the quantity and prevalence of the cum, we can actually understand when we see the decay and the downfall of society. That's what I'm about.
Well, you hear about the gender confusion at the end of the Weimar period as well.
Yes, quite.
And there were.
So, ahistorical, wrong, and also trying to downplay the severity and evil of the Nazis. Allow me to explain. That's not the direction in which it worked. It was not, all of a sudden things became a little too LGBTQ+, and then people responded by going full Nazi on those evil transes. The Nazis, as they were coming to power, outside of persecuting the Jews, which was their primary target, were persecuting LGBTQ+ people, and it happened to be that there was a Jewish head of the largest trans and gender school/institution in its history, a foundational research facility, and he was called by Hitler the most dangerous Jew in Germany. Yes, and they burnt it to the fucking ground. That's what the Nazis did. So this is Nazi rhetoric. It's the same shit. Whenever you hear people getting into this, where they're like, it's a lot about the downfall of society. And by the way, that anti-Semitism, it overlaps with this whole conspiracy theory about porn and degeneracy. If you've listened to a lot of the shit that Ye was saying, Ye was basically amplifying and screaming a lot of fucking like Stormfront like shit that they don't like. And by they, I mean the far right. They don't like people saying out loud. They don't like that part of it being screamed. They don't like the mask slipping and then being like, and by the way, the Jews also control porn. And then it's like, oh, whoa, okay, that's behind the scenes when we're in safe time and we have the hoods on kind of shit. That's not what we say on broadcast. That stuff is that's kind of like, you know, in Scientology when you unlock the secrets, the final Thetan Xenu shit. That's that level. So we keep that to ourselves. You don't say that part out loud, but it's all part of the exact same conspiracy, and that's why he kept on bringing up Instagram and pornography, and that this is the same thing as grooming and pedophilia. If you have like an Instagram account, like all of that taps into deep anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
Quite a few bathhouses there, so
if history is anything to go by, a rise in transgenderism and orgies spells the end of time and ends of times, and that looks like you know, where we've got to at the.
You know what they're saying? They're like, well, bloody hell, if you don't stop this, we're going to go full Nazi. Yes, it's very true. Yes, no. I've been thinking this for some time. I've wanted to just go full Nazi. I've not enjoyed all this woke PC. I have to not wear a hood in public. I can't put a swastika on my chest and things like this. But yes, we will do this.
Moment. The only thing that I did quite like is I saw that the outdoor category grew by 121%. Now that seems wholesome to me because, you know, we just had 2 years of lockdown and lots of people are working from home now. So people going on PornHub to see a bit of the outdoors, I thought, well, that's not too bad.
That might be more research as well, because considering the great collapse is about to come, this might be all the preppers figuring out the best spots to do it.
Quite. And the only one that confused me was
like. It's a weird thing to have a smug smirk on your face talking about how the end days are coming all the time. It's like, oh, you know, it's only a matter of time, really, before we all burn in the infernal hell, so better buy some of our prepper buckets.
The feet category is up 38%.
Oh, no. We're going there.
Women. In fact, amongst women, it was up 145%.
Ladies.
Which slightly confused me because...
Ladies are loving the feet.
Blokes' feet, can it? Because...
Must be.
Well,
Must be. No, women would never be interested in other women's feet. That doesn't make sense. No. What, are you saying there's lesbian feet? Idolation? Predilations? Percolations, if you will? My word.
Blokes have awful feet. It must be women's feet that are the ones that are on the subject of video. So why...
someone just revealed he has a little bit of a foot kink, eh? Oh, the dude's feet. Gross, sick. The lady's feet. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, no. Count me in.
Why are women... 145% up on women's feet.
Why?
No matter how
Why?
where you fall on the political spectrum.
Yeah,
we just had a conversation about whether or not we should ban pornography. You came from the more libertarian perspective. I came from the more conservative perspective. I think we can all agree that if you are a foot fetishist, you're fucking disgusting. I apologise for swearing, but there's no other way.
Oh, you got some pushback from your co-host. Oh, just getting in there. We've spoken about this privately. You said you wouldn't bring this up on the show. I've said to you before, I'm not. There's certain things that all of us love that we don't tell others, and I trusted you.
Compared to some of the other categories that are moving up, I think that feet is relatively wholesome. I mean,
oh, well. I was doing a bit, but I might be onto something here. Yes.
It used to be the case years ago that if you were foot fetish, then you were the lowest of the low. But, you know, these days you're relatively, you know, you're church deacon basically.
We found the space at the bottom of the barrel, and apparently there is space to scrape underneath
absolutely.
it.
Significant space, right. So this was also interesting.
Also got to be honest with you. Not someone who is into feet in any way, shape, or form, but if you are, cool. That's you. Who gives a fuck? Why do you got to do a segment where it's just like, well, I'm going to do the tier list of kinks. I'm going to do the tier list. We're going to do the S tier, the A tier, blah, blah, all the way down to fucking ones that you should be ashamed of yourself for. So once we get to this one, right around here, yeah, oh, you're disgusting. Absolutely deplorably disgusting. Now, hold on. Are we really going to say that about our beautiful, delicious feet?
So 2020's most searched terms. Now, last week I did a segment on the end of US hegemony, and I talked about how the European powers, the Anglo powers, have been declining, and the Asian powers have been rising, and that's what we're seeing in porn terms as well. The Asians are absolutely dominating at the moment.
Is this all the white nationalists with yellow fever?
It could be, but apparently.
Someone knows a little bit about that one. Have you been spending time in 4chan? Have you been spending a little bit of time talking about ethno-national states? The ideal ethno-national states and the subservient Asian women who may dominate those ethnically clean ethno-national states? Interesting thing for you to have said. Unprovoked, I might add, out of nowhere. Just like, yeah, is that all of those, you know, those Nazis who are obsessed with Japanese women.
Apparently, the most searched term is hentai, and I'm such a boomer, I didn't know what this was until yesterday when I had to.
we did that as a bit earlier. Yes, hentai, hentai, I don't know. I'm assuming Chinese or something. Rabble fluff. What could that possibly be then? Hentai. Weirdness.
To ask around the office.
Well, unfortunately, I think there's a sizable contingent of people who think that. So the argument I just made in the past segment is that you can't ever verify whether or not porn is made consensually because you don't know if the other participant gave the consent or they're in the right mind before they're doing it.
Well, the hentai is apparently the cartoon.
Did the cartoons consent to the artist drawing them? I'd like to know. Has anyone had this argument yet? But did the cartoons consent? We need to know this. Also, you could ask them, you could interview sex workers, you could interview porn stars, and you could ask them, are you engaged in consensual sex? Are there dangers? Is there problems in the industry? Are you being manipulated? Are you being taken advantage of? Do you think you're being exploited? All very, prescient parts of this discussion to be had, certainly. But just going out of the gate being like, you'll never know. You'll never. I basically all porn is rape. Whenever there's just no way of ever knowing between the two people you're watching. Unless of course it is hentai.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is,
whatever
quite
that
a few
is.
people will use that as a justification to say, but it's just a drawing, bro.
Right.
And this was what happened when we addressed the Balenciaga scandal, and Harry and I had a conversation about the fact that in the background of the Balenciaga bear shoot, or the handbag shoot, was a Supreme
Just to
Court...
recap for these reviews, my understanding that this is a fashion house that started to put out coded images of devil worship, paedophilia children along with their brands.
Well, in the background of one of the handbag shoots was a printout of a Supreme Court decision that allowed child pornography under the auspices that it was a drawing. And Harry and I said, that's utterly degenerate and you should be imprisoned.
Was there a child in the image as well?
Not in that one, no. But there were in the other ones.
Okay.
So it fit a trend, very disturbing trend.
Again, a completely separate photo shoot, we should add. And I'm not here to defend Balenciaga trying to be gross and edgy. Fuck Balenciaga. If y'all want to take Balenciaga down, have at it. Shoe on Head has unlocked a wonderful world of just people searching all Balenciaga ads for fucking clues to find the degenerate secret codes of the pedos. But what does that have to do with like actual pedophilia and unlocking pedophilia? Like, again, so many conversations you could have. The exploitation of child labor, the exploitation of children used in photo shoots, which, yes, are gross by these companies, all that kind of shit. But it's not, we want to talk about this. We don't want to entertain it. We want to look for the clues. We want to find the coded secret satanic messages, because that's more fun.
Harry and I were very much against that. Unfortunately, it attracted the wrong side of YouTube, because there were plenty of comments of people saying, oh, why do you want to lock me up? It's just a drawing, bro. It's like, right. What this is the normalizing of a degenerate habit with the wiggle room to justify your addiction, because you're saying, oh, it's not a real person, or no real people are actually involved.
So, what you're seeing here, they're concern trolling. They're concern trolling about actual people suffering exploitation, any of that kind of stuff. They don't give two fucks. In fact, they think that all sex workers are degenerates and they should be punished in hell, in the hellfire. So they don't care about them. They don't care about the people making the pornography that they do jerk off to. That is almost a guarantee. I don't need the stats and statistics on that. We can just assume this is to be a truth. And it's probably for stuff in which they are trying to now feign no knowledge of. I've never heard of this. What, foot porn? Well, come on, don't be too hasty here. And what of this drawn hentai? I don't know. You know this because at this point it's still wrong. Even if no sex workers are being exploited in the act of making your porno, it happens to be an artist who's drawing this because this is something that either arouses them or they want to put out there into the world. Even at that point, they're still like, but this is wrong, because you see what it's normalizing. Carnal activities. That's what's wrong, ultimately. We cannot have any of this. This has to be done between one cis man, one cis woman, in the sanctity and bond of the Lord our God, who can witness the whole thing. Jesus is in the room with you. Yep, he's watching. And he likes what he sees. Let's just say that. Oh, sorry. This is the only way. And this is the only thing that can ever take place. Everything else, degenerate, disgusting.
And creating it beyond just doing the voices, or it's just CGI. No, the drawing is a representative of a person, and so as we just said, with the increasing amount of trans porn being consumed, and it may play into a social contagion, what are you normalizing in your own mind and rationalizing away as it's just a drawing? You know it's an unhealthy habit. Stop it.
Well, that is now the #1 search, and then also dominating from the Asian sector is the Japanese.
It's just constantly feigning like, oh my god, so shameless, disgusting.
Japanese, Pinay, and the term Asian. So it is not
Pinay?
just. That's Filipinos, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think they've got two terms: Pinay for the girls and Pinoy for the boys. I think that's the way it works.
Right. Okay.
So
for women or men actually, because Pornhub is pretty stringent about the child porn up. You know the thing. Just
Asians are dominating there. Right now, we're going to skip over all the performers. Oh yes.
He keeps going back and forth. Sometimes he has like resting kind of like face, and then he goes right back to the.
We got a map of the United States and the most searched term in each particular area. Now, I've got to say it kind of how to phrase this. So the South has basically various versions of.
By the way, I've said this before. They don't care about white people, even if they're in the white supremacist or far right camp. They care about upholding all structures, and that includes capitalism. And that's why the poor white people, well, they'll still get the lulls, you know. Still gonna be like, so all the inbred hicks in the South, well, look what they're into.
Of black interest is probably the best way of describing it.
Right. Okay.
You know, fair enough. That's all right. Okay. Texas, they go with panties, which seems to fit the bill for a website like this.
Very tame in the Republican side.
I'm gonna be honest. I would not expect panties to be Texas. The #1 search.
Arizona, they go for Latina.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Now I've just got to pull up my.
We know a lot of them there, and probably see them in the church and stuff. Wondering what exactly would it be like every now and then. It makes sense to me.
My map.
I think that's just all the ICE facilities.
Yeah, of the US, so I don't get confused with which state is which. Right?
Washington fleshlight. Wow, the use of the fleshlight, or someone using a fleshlight on you, or just incorporating fleshlights into your activity with your partner. What exactly? I'd like to know more details.
Right, then we got on to California is all about the Asians. Right, now when you get to Oregon,
New Mexico, not Arizona. I wasn't even looking. I was off in my own world trying to see where exactly everyone was into and being like, oh, interesting. I wouldn't have thought. Oh, okay, need to know. There we have it. Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, yeah, no, you're totally right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, possibly.
This is kind of funny. This is like Brits don't know U.S. geography, the porn edition. So I don't know what we see down there. I believe that's New York, right? So New York, BBC, is that BBC New York? I believe this is New York, right? Either way, they're into what exactly is BBC now. This is a new term to me. I've never heard of it prior to this. Obviously, I had to do some Googling, but I believe it means big black cock. Yes. Oh my! I did not know such a search term existed. Yes. Well, that seems to be what New York is certainly into.
Now,
yes.
The other disturbance. So if you
hang on. I've just worked out where Oregon is.
Yeah.
What the?
So if you thought I was disturbed when I found out what hentai was, furries. So this is apparently when people dress up in suits like foxes and badgers.
Well, they're like children's holiday park entertainers.
Yes, those.
See, you had to throw that in there. Now all of a sudden it's been planted. Well, these are the people who actually hang out with children. So,
And apparently that is the big thing in Oregon. Anyway, so when you start moving,
are you really telling me we shouldn't ban porn? Are you really?
Yeah,
Come on.
I've got to say the argument does get weaker when you actually start looking into some of the specifics.
Why?
Right, and then moving across
Why? Okay, I get it. You're not into any of the things seen before you. None of this arouses you, for sure. Definitely believe you. I believe every single aspect of that. You've never once had any sexual interest in anything here, including sucking dick. None of them. None of this interests you. Fine. But it interests other people. Other people seem to enjoy these things. Just because you don't enjoy breast expansion doesn't mean that other people don't enjoy it. You don't have to take that away from them. Don't take that away from Alaska. Come on.
Yeah, the Midwest. Yeah, very disappointing. I mean,
who's the one that's done goth?
Well, we've got Mormon in Utah, which again that
makes sense.
Yeah, because presumably they've got a lot of Mormons or something.
That seems like an
yeah,
oxymoron.
goth. Well, not my thing, but I mean, okay, fair enough. That you got more hentai as you go across, but it starts to get really bad when you get up into the northeast. Wisconsin has gone for pegging. It's very unfortunate, I think. We got Indiana. They go for the furries as well, and then the rest of the northeast. I can't even read them out.
Isn't Indiana Mike Pence's state?
Yes. So he's probably
got him.
not contributing to the numbers
and Pete Buttigieg.
I repeat, the guy in the blue suit is on record on his show saying all sex crimes should carry public execution as punishment, and he believes viewing porn should be seen as a sex crime. What? As in, any person who ever watched porn should be executed?
Right, okay. Yeah, he probably is contributing to the numbers. Right. Top countries that are accessing this website. So United States is basically doing the same as it does with printing money, which is outstripping everybody else put together, although United Kingdom is well in there.
I am really looking forward to the end of the American Empire.
Yeah. Time spent per visit. Now, this is one where the
Brits
do
resurgence of the British
well,
one? What's going on?
Time spent
I assume?
per visit was 9 minutes and 54 seconds. But the Brits, they have more staying power. So they managed 10 minutes and 5 seconds, which is a bit more impressive.
Damn, Canada, you quick. All the way down here with 9 minutes 28 seconds. Egypt, 11 minutes and 12 seconds. It's Chad masturbation time there.
Let me see. Women apparently spend an extra 6 seconds on the site compared to men, which is an eye-opening stat. You know, if only chaps knew.
And eye-opening said, no, it's weird, you know, my wife oftentimes is completely comfortable with me basically entering her for about 15 seconds, and then afterwards she says she's achieved the most pleasure possible on the planet. So, odd to me that women may spend a little bit more time, what's the proper term, flicking the bean, so to speak.
Hang in there for another 6 minutes. You know, she could join you as well. But
6 seconds.
6 seconds.
That
6
was
seconds,
a very telling Freudian slip.
Yeah. Yeah, quite. So, so that was interesting. Right. What else have we got?
Well, actually, there's a really interesting stat though, because average visit duration worldwide is down 1 second. So that could either speak to the number of people is dropping off.
Productivity gains, isn't it?
Or, I suppose economizing it. Yeah. Anyway, or it could, even worse, speak to the increasing desensitization that people are having, so they're seeking out more and more extreme novelty and therefore cutting their...
You're reading a lot into a 1 second difference in a single year in terms of masturbation. This is utterly meaningless speculation based on what? Based on this information, there's nothing that you can assess.
Usage time.
Yeah. We've got some of that novelty in the closing bit. Right, we've got a map of the world, the most searched for area.
Hells yeah.
It's gone for ebony, which seems fair enough. Russia,
they're still not very politically correct then.
No, well, and actually the US, their most viewed category is ebony as well. Russians, they've gone for
I think
Russians,
the map's down
which
bit,
is
John. Why am I asking?
Which is fair enough.
To see
Indians have gone for Indians, again, fair enough.
Someone's gone reality.
Yeah. Interesting.
Canada, lesbian. America, ebony. Brazil, trans. A lot of the countries in Africa are ebony. Interesting. And Indian, Japanese, and China, Japanese. Australia, also going lesbian. Russia going Russian.
But for Chinese, and basically the whole of Southeast Asia, they've gone for Japanese, which is a bit of a...
So the Imperial Japanese finally got their belief in racial purity and conquest across the Asian Pacific.
Just did it for a different mechanism, yeah. And what... and Brazil, they've gone for transgender. Yes, very disappointing. Yeah, that's not good.
Well, the Canadians have all gone for lesbians.
Well,
I mean, the overwhelming... Hang on, why are the overwhelming number of the US gone for... it might actually be that there's more black people consuming porn in the US as a demographics that might skew.
Possibly.
It might make up 13% of the population. You think they're just... you know, black Americans, they're putting in the extra hours. Know what I'm saying? You know, they're getting those numbers up. They're just jerking off. There's no way that anyone else would have an interest in jerking off to black people. You know, the only thing that explains it is most likely just black people masturbating to black people. Well, no one else would find them attractive. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No. We can only ask the ONS, I suppose.
Right. And there's a section below this which is categories that have been viewed the longest. Now, I found this interesting because apparently the longest viewed section is mature at 18 minutes and 41 seconds.
Well, that I know where that will be.
Well,
because the age demographic viewing that will probably take the longest to.
Really, I mean, I just thought, you know, perhaps instead if you had selected perhaps something a bit, you know, younger and hotter, you could have shaved 8 minutes.
This is actually a pretty fun segment because, like, the information is always fascinating whenever PornHub releases this data every single year. And it's mostly like, it seems like a mostly just fun exercise to just be like, oh, that's interesting to see what each province in Canada is interested in jerking off to, what, you know, women are more interested in masturbating to over men, blah, 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 what categories are that stuff. But to see it through the lens of two absolute bigots who are trying to hide their knowledge of any of this, be like, oh, yes, what, I don't entirely understand. What is this? Foot fellatio. What does that mean?
What do you
think the training?
That's possible. That's I don't know whichever way you want to look at it.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Depends how you view it. Tattooed women. Now, this is going to be revealing a bit of my own preferences, but I've never kind of got the whole tattooed thing. I don't quite see that, and I've always just thought, well, you know, that's my take on it.
I do have a friend who's an alt girl connoisseur, and he can enjoy it, but not my thing. Thank you.
But now we've got empirical evidence that would basically.
Seems like a couple of reports going down. Wait, you have a friend who's an alt girl connoisseur. Interesting. Fun way of wording it.
Right, because you know, the tattooed women, you know, they're up there.
Who cares? I could not agree more. Tattooed women can look absolutely gorgeous. Women with no tattoos can look absolutely gorgeous. I'm not even saying that as a centrist. I've been like, I've seen women who there's basically not a square inch of their skin that doesn't have a tattoo on it, and they can look absolutely fine. And then there's women who have no tattoos, and they can also look gorgeous. Like, the weirdest thing in the world to say. Oh, no, my personal preferences. Don't really enjoy the ladies.
So, empirical evidence that actually we're not necessarily wrong on that. So. Yes.
Muscular men was the shortest, so the gays are letting the side down.
I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to mention that one, but
I suppose it's
the gays.
So embarrassing.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the last thing is
got to be the gays.
Straight past
only the gays
gay
watch
section,
the gay porno and the men.
Top relative categories by generation, and this is the really unfortunate thing. So you see the Gen Z. They're all about their sort of threesomes and virtual reality and cosplay. So, you know, it's a bit degenerate, but not that bad. But it's
you know, on the degeneracy meters, it's not exactly what I was thinking, but not great, obviously. We did a little bit of scale here, but still, they're almost okay. Heaven forbid it's not hentai.
They're the ones who are too strong on the transgender. Some of
the just as soon as you said it, the revulsion he has to put on, the airs, fucking, you know, homie's hard drive is loaded with this shit.
But not that bad. But it's the Gen Y. They're the ones who are too strong on the transgender, some of the other things. And
what?
Yeah, I probably better not read out this particular.
It's not getting monetized.
Yeah, no, quite. So, yes, I thought that was an interesting run-through of, you know, where we are with revealed preferences from people. The only other thing, which I did find, if I can see it, was there was a bit about, oh, yes, you pivot to the UK, which is on a slightly different tab, and we can see what people in the UK searched out most often.
Oh,
it's the one for migrants.
Scotland.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
fucking based. Look at this shit. This is the weirdest thing to have, where you're watching this and you see all this kind of stuff, and you're like, okay, well, that one's embarrassing. That one, it's still degenerate, but not as degenerate. Obviously, there's levels of degeneracy. You know, Southeast POV. First, I've heard of this term, POV. Well, I'm meant to believe that it's supposed to simulate being in a first-person perspective as another individual. It could be a man, a woman, the degenerates going for even non-binary sometimes, engaging in, activities upon yourself. I've heard of such things. But joy, obviously, this is joy, I believe, right? It means joy, as in they enjoy joyous pornography. Well, no, this one may surprise you. I had to look this one up earlier, but it actually means jerk-off instructions. What? Telling me how to do what I've never done before?
Oh, that really says a lot about the independence movement, doesn't it? So, for our viewers, I can't believe I'm going to read this out. So, Scotland has got pegging as its main one. The northeast of England has got chav, which makes sense. The northwest has got chubby, also makes sense.
Yeah.
Yorkshire and Humber has got MILF.
Oh, is Swindon in...
Does that also make sense?
No, it's in southwest, which has got glory hole.
Oh, I thought we were in the West Midlands. An Indian would have made sense, given my drive to work every morning.
West Midlands does make sense to be Indian, because that's Birmingham.
I see, okay.
Yeah. Wales has got... What's ASMR?
Right, so...
Makes sense.
I didn't know that one either, and I looked it up, and I still don't know. So it's something about audio stimulation.
What the fuck is chav? So chav is a derogatory term for a poor British gangster-esque person. Often poor British white gangsters are called chavs.
Something.
Oh, is that the thing where women talk into microphones?
Or brushing their hair, apparently. Stuff like that.
That's on...
I've never heard of this thing. Utterly bizarre. So they speak into the microphones, they brush their hair, and then next thing I know, I've donated close to 50 subs. I'm not entirely sure what the whole thing was about, but utterly bizarre, that practice, yes.
I thought that was just like what Twitch Thoughts did, but that's not...
That's what they're into in Wales, so... Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know what the other acronyms... I know the East Midlands like fat women. I don't know what the other one is. Greater London, the most is Turkish, which is really...
You know what's wild too is when you talk to people who do ASMR streams, especially the ones like not the PornHub ASMR, but the Twitch ASMR. Like there's this like weird thing where they think every single person, and sometimes there's thousands of people watching these people, are like jerking off, and like a lot of them are not. A lot of them are just like I like the hypnotic relaxation feelings it gives me and shit like that. And yes, obviously there's probably a percentage of people who are also pleasuring themselves. You can't stop that no matter what the stream is, but at the same time it's weird that always goes to that place for the side of the aisle. Well,
he's doing that. So that is apparently jerk off instruction, because presumably the chaps in Essex don't know how to go about this this activity.
They're only doing it for
instructed on it
for research purposes. Yeah, this is educating Essex all over.
I will never understand ASMR. Yeah, it's not my thing either. To me, it just makes me. Maybe it's just because of the ADHD or something. I feel uncomfortable just hearing like all these sounds and stuff like that. But like if it makes other people feel joy or contentment, why would you want to take it away from them? That's kind of my point.
Right.
Southeast, where
it seems very innocuous.
I mean, I can get behind that
point of view. Is that?
Well, the idea is that.
Is that like VR?
It's all filmed like it's you there, so
right. I thought
which is probably the least degenerate.
Every time I do a bit for these two motherfuckers, they end up doing it in real time. That's what I've heard. First-person perspective, something of that nature. Yes.
Well, just interviews or something.
Ghastly.
No,
interviews,
better than
perhaps.
Scotland, isn't it? And
whereabouts
in the world are you from?
Well, it makes sense. Pegging, obviously, is going to be a little bit beta, subordinate to the women, and there's Scottish men just allowing themselves to be, molested.
Technically southeastern London, so I'm on the Kent border.
Right. Yeah.
So apparently, I'm
sensible area.
I want to see myself as a Turkish man.
Well, I thought it was Turkish women, but I don't know.
Oh well, yeah.
Yes.
Fair point.
So, I think we've had a well-rounded take on pornography today, possibly banning it, and if we're not, oh dear, what has he pulled up now? Can we? I'm not even going to look at that one because
top relative categories. What does that mean? Often
solo male based.
Just
and Scotland have let themselves down again.
What is with Scotland? Okay.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. Well. Anyway,
Scotland's a new Soho.
Thanks for watching that segment from the podcast.
Oh, they're so offended. Yes, snowflakes, come on. I think they protest a little too much, if I'm being totally real. Do you enjoy the Serfs, but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arnie, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojak, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.